What's up, Warriors? I'm Juan Ruiz.
And I'm Kelsey Biggs.
Welcome back to Warrior Rewind,
where every week we will be bringing you the latest news and updates from our Warrior athletic teams.
And if you guys haven't noticed, we have a new member, Kelsey, on the Warrior Rewind team. Kelsey, how does it feel to be on the team?
I'm super excited, and this is great practice for me, so I'm glad to be a part of the team.
It's awesome. Do you have any weekend plans or anything?
Work. Super boring, so what about you?
That sounds like a lot of fun. I'm just going to catch up on my sleep. This week has been crazy, but you know what? Enough of that. I'm just going to jump right in, starting off with women's tennis. Played against Sonoma State and unfortunately lost with a score of 6-1.
On March 15th and 16th, track and field had a meet at Homewell Invitational Sacramento, where Alex Rios, distance runner, set a new school record for the 3,000 meter. His time was 9 minutes, 11.46 seconds, which qualified him for NCAA.
On Friday, March 15th, softball had a doubleheader against Cal State San Marcos. They won both games. They won the first game with a score of 6-4 and their second game with a score of 3-0. The runs were made by Melissa Spencer, Alexis Martinez, Aaliyah Garvin, Maya Yoshiura, Leah Tom, Kylie Ragsdale, and Kayla Fajardo. Way to go, girls.
That same Friday, boys baseball traveled to Los Angeles, California to play against Cal State LA. Unfortunately, they were defeated 10-4. They had a doubleheader the following day and lost their games with a score of 6-2 and 5-2.
Then, on March 16th, softball played against Cal State San Marcos and lost with a score of 4-0. They had a doubleheader against Concordia in Irvine and lost both games as well. The first game ended with a score of 2-1 and their second game with a score of 1-0.
After having 5 consecutive losses, the women's tennis team defeated Dominican on Saturday, March 16th, with a score of 5-2. They also defeated American River College in their match the following day, Sunday, March 17th. They won every single doubles game and singles game, resulting in a score of 7-0. And on Friday, March 22nd, they had another match against Hawaii Hilo, which they also won with a score of 4-1. That makes 3 consecutive wins for the women's tennis team.
On Friday, March 22nd, baseball defeated Cal State San Bernardino with a score of 13-6. Alexis Paz, Jack Large, Vinny Margiota, and Braden Oki made the most runs of the night. The following day, March 23rd, they played against San Bernardino again, and once again, they defeated them with a score of 12-9. The runs were made by Jack Large, Brandon De La Guardia, Vinny Margiota, and Braden Oki.
On March 22nd and 23rd, track and field had a meet at San Luis Obispo, where Terrence Gladney placed second in the men's 200-meter dash and third in the 100-meter dash. Eric Barhan placed second in the hammer throw. Isaac McCrimmon posted a career best in the long jump.
Gracious Tohia in women's discus threw a personal best and finished with a throw of 47.36 meters. In shot put, Ali Maloney and Brianna Lowther finished second and third, and in hammer throw, Brianna Lowther placed fourth.
On Saturday, March 23rd, softball had a doubleheader against Cal State San Bernardino. They lost their first game with a score of 2-0, but they came up on top in their second game, ending the game with a score of 4-0.
On Sunday, March 24th, baseball had a doubleheader against Cal State San Bernardino, and they defeated them once again in both games. The first game resulted with a score of 2-1, and their second game with a score of 4-1.
That same day, March 24th, softball also had a doubleheader against Cal State San Bernardino. They ended their first game with a winning score of 7-2, but unfortunately lost their second game with a close score of 4-3.
Tennis also had a match against Holy Names that day, and for their fourth time in a row, they won once again with a score of 5-2. Way to go, Warriors!
On Wednesday, March 27th, softball had a game against Central Washington and lost with a score of 10-2. On Friday, March 29th, softball had a tournament of champions all weekend. On this game, they played against Northwest Nazarene, won 7-1. They also played against Azusa Pacific, but they did not win this game. They ended the game with a close score of 7-6.
That same day, baseball played against Cal State San Marcos and lost with a score of 14-8. They had a doubleheader against Cal State San Marcos the following day, March 30th, and won both games. The first game with a high score of 17-7, and their second game with a score of 11-4. Way to go, boys!
That same day, softball had played against Concordia and won 4-0. They also played against Western Oregon, but unfortunately lost with a score of 3-1. The following day, March 31st, they played again and won 2-0. That same day, baseball had a game against Cal State San Marcos, and they won 7-4.
On March 31st, tennis continued their winning streak. They had 2 matches, one against Dominican University of California, which ended with a score of 4-1, and the other match was against Mills College, which they won with a score of 7-0.
Now, on to this month's games. On April 5th and 6th, track and field had a meet at Chico State in which they achieved some of their personal bests. Victories were made by Ali Malone, Eric Barhan, and shot put. Eric Barhan won men's hammers throw. Akia Walker had the fastest time in the 5,000-meter run, and Darrell Calvin won the 110-meter hurdles.
On April 6th, softball had a doubleheader against San Francisco State in which they lost both games. The first game ended with a score of 6-3 and the second game with a score of 10-2. They also played them the following day and lost both games with a close score of 3-2 and 1-2.
On April 6th, baseball played against UC San Diego and lost with a score of 5-1. But the following day, they swept UC San Diego in their doubleheader. They ended their first game with a score of 4-2 and their second game with a score of 7-3.
On April 5th, women's tennis had a match against Fresno Pacific, and unfortunately they ended their winning streak. They lost with a score of 5-2. On April 7th, they had a match against UC Santa Cruz, and they won with a score of 7-0.
On Monday, April 8th, baseball had a game against UC San Diego and lost with a close score of 4-3. They played again on April 12th against Cal Poly Pomona and won with a score of 8-3.
On April 12th, baseball had a doubleheader against Chico State, where they won their first game with a score of 5-3, but lost their second game with a score of 3-1.
On April 13th, it was a busy day. Starting off with the day, women's tennis played against Nevada and lost with a score of 4-0.
Both baseball and softball had doubleheaders that day. Unfortunately, both teams lost both games. Softball played against Chico State, and they ended their first game with a score of 6-0 and their second game with a score of 5-2. Baseball played Cal Poly Pomona, and they ended their first game with a score of 5-3 and their second game with a close score of 3-2. Baseball played the following day against Cal Poly Pomona again and lost again with a close score of 3-2.
On April 14th, tennis came back stronger than ever and defeated Holy Names with a score of 6-1.
And that's all the games that we've had so far.
So make sure to follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at Warrior Rewind.
I'm Juan Ruiz.
And I'm Kelsey Biggs, and we'll catch you next time.